This is the Songwriting Mind, program exploring the personal depths of creativity, stories, and craft that define songwriting.
For the intro, I am Sam Smith from Lapine, Oregon, and I'm going to talk about some songwriting stuff, my process for making my music. So I started writing songs like a year and a half ago, I think. It took me a long time to kind of have the confidence to start doing that. I've wanted to like my whole life basically, because I've always been like a music guy, and then I was like a band kid for a long time. I have done a lot of kind of contemplation on a lot of things, on like how I can feel more confident in myself. I definitely have a tendency to kind of like second guess myself a lot, and I've been trying to get a little bit better at just kind of letting things flow. And that was kind of my approach with songwriting too, and it still is. Like I think of the band Pavement a lot. Like their lyrics are extremely like stream of conscious and kind of don't make sense, but because they don't make sense, they kind of do make sense in some weird like subconscious kind of way. So I find that whole thing interesting. I find the subconscious really interesting, and I find dreams really interesting too. Like sometimes I'll like have like an idea that I wake up and like after a dream or something with like a little phrase in my head that I don't really know where it came from, but then I'll just write a song based off of that. And it's really just trying to make the process like as easy for myself as I can so that I can have more fun and create things a lot. For a while, it was definitely very strict. When I was like in my band kid period of life, I went to college very briefly for that, and it got like too strict for me. I was very overwhelmed and exhausted. And so then I dropped out of college, started kind of working on my mental health a lot, and I started taking guitar lessons at that time, like 3 years ago or something. I think working on myself has been like the most important thing that I've done to let myself be more creative, because it's kind of hard to be creative when you're always afraid of what other people are going to think about you. Also, just what you think about yourself too is like you can get so in your head about it that you just don't do anything. I think that it definitely influences a lot, and that's one of the reasons why I create a lot of stuff. In like the past year or so, I've put out like 80 songs or something, like 60 to 80 in this past year. I haven't counted in a while, but that's like my estimation. I don't like to have any expectation when I'm going into things. Like I kind of still do. I'll like have like a band in mind sometimes or whatever, but I try not to have any expectations and kind of let things go where they go. And a lot of times that's how albums get made, is like I'll have a stroke of inspiration and then just come up with like maybe one song and do a single, or I'll come up with like 4 songs and do an EP, or feel like making an album and I'll start like going back into my notes app to read like some old ideas that I had, or like poems, or just whatever, because I'm always kind of writing down little ideas or like words or phrases that I think have potential for a song in them. I found that writing with instruments, I've become a lot more loose. Like I don't think about chords at all when I'm playing guitar, or I don't think about what key the song is when I'm like adding a bass line. I don't even know. When I first started, I was a bit more like serious about it. Like, okay, this song is gonna be in G major. What chords fit into that key? And like, what sounds good? But now I'm just kind of like letting things come out and kind of letting myself be surprised by what happens when I just layer all these things that just came from somewhere in my mind and like add it all together. So the first one, it's by my imaginary band called The Idiots, which is just me also. But it's like I have like little characters in my head of like what the band would be. I imagine the singer is very much like an Iggy Pop type, where he's like got his shirt off all the time, is like sweating and like screaming into the mic and doing crazy dances and like being really like intense. And then there's like a dog robot in the band that I think is the percussionist. And then there's like an alien that does some other stuff like guitars and keyboards, I think. But the song is called 123 Ah. I really also like tried to do like an AC/DC voice for this one, which I don't normally do, but it was really kind of cathartic to just like scream into a microphone and act all crazy. And I was like doing claps between when I was singing like into the mic so I could get some hand claps on it and stuff. It was really fun. Something was amiss. The rabbit's head of which he put on his foot. And then, man showed up. Man pulled gun out. When yesterday happened, parties occurred. 1, 2. It's in a lot of ways it's very similar also to like my stuff with my favorite boxer, because I think whenever I write it's not really from like any perspective. I don't think, like, I feel like every song is kind of about me and kind of not about me, I guess, because I think anyone is sort of able to relate to anything, which I find really interesting with music too, is like people are very unique but also they're so similar in a lot of ways. And like you feel a similarity to them, even though you're like different humans or whatever. I definitely think there's a lot of connection going on, and I feel that with my like imaginary characters too, where it's like they don't exist, but they're in my brain, so they kind of do exist. And it's interesting to kind of see what music comes out when I just like have the idea of these characters in my mind playing this music. As I live life, I find like there's more and more things to kind of relate to, and I find that feels a lot better than like feeling disconnected from things or whatever. And that makes it a lot easier to write songs, because I'm like very accepting of every idea I have, and like able to go through like very dissonant sounds until something magical happens. And I think they're all kind of the same in that way. And like lyrics wise, I write the same way on all of them, where I try to shut off my brain kind of. I really never demo Like I did at first kind of, and like I guess I have a little bit on voice memos for like very certain songs, but like basically all my songs are like demos. I think like I do everything in like just one take also, and that makes things a lot easier for me is to do it in one single take and keep mistakes in and stuff like that, because I find those add a lot of interesting like sonic qualities to the music. It's definitely a combination of improv and written stuff. Sometimes I'll hit record without knowing what I'm gonna sing, and then like scroll through my notes app and find like a poem or like some lyrics or just like some several different notes in my phone, and I'll just like sing those in like an improvised melody, and then that becomes a song, and then I keep layering things on top of it or whatever. The song Third Man Syndrome is kind of interesting. It's like the idea of third man syndrome is like this feeling that people get when they're in very desperate situations where they feel like there's someone like watching them and helping them. Like for some people it's like a god or something, or for some people it's just like a presence that they feel. And so the song is kind of like trippy and kind of spiritual in that way, and kind of pretty psychedelic. Definitely think about what it felt like to be like a little kid, I think, because I think about that often. It's like there's like that Picasso quote of like everyone's an amazing artist when they're like 3 years old, but then a lot of them just like stop doing it. Because like kids are like the most creative little things out there, and they're always like dancing to stuff and like I think there's a tendency for adults to want to like stray away from that kind of energy or like feeling, but it feels really good to kind of let the inner child go crazy. Because when you're a little kid, you don't have like all these like traumas or just like whatever you've been through in your life that kind of makes you feel scared to do things, you know? I definitely think about it as play. And I think that's always kind of how I've wanted it to be, because that's like the most fun way to do it, in my opinion, is to like, I take it about as seriously as I think I should take anything in life. Like, I think a lot of things in this world are very like absurd when you look at them on like a cosmic level. Like, how small we are, but also how huge we are compared to like all the little like atoms on our body and everything. But then also there's this huge universe out there. It's not really that I take things seriously or that I don't take things seriously. I just kind of like do stuff. It's all very kind of random, I think. It's like there have been times where I've been like, I want to sit down and write something, and then I still kind of let it flow out very like free and stuff like that. But I will have just like days where I don't really think about it that much, or like I don't really care that much about it. I'm not very like attached to music as like a thing. Like, I think music is amazing and it's like very beautiful, but I try not to be too attached to anything, because then it kind of takes a lot of the fun out of it for me. So it's like I make music when I'm excited about doing it, I would say. And it happens that I get excited often. So one of the songs I chose is called Hancock's Flatworm Swims, which came from like, I don't know where I saw that, but I saw like someone talking about Hancock's flatworm. And so I Google it. It's like a swimming worm thing, and it looks really cool. It's like very colorful. And I was like, that just needs to be like in a song. And then for the sound of the song, I wanted it to be like, I was trying to do like my own Jesus and Mary Chain song from like their early era of music, when they were super like fuzzed out and like shrill guitar leads. And like they used to get like booed off stage and everything too, for like how like distorted their guitars were. And like they're one of my most listened to bands of the past year. So I think I just was excited about the Jesus and Mary Chain.
But I know she don't feel the same. Yes, I know she don't feel the same. Hancock's flatworm swims. Closely, you know she's my one and only. I just wanna hold it closely, but I know she don't feel the same. Oh, I know she don't feel the same. And I'll slap one swim. Don't know where to begin.
It's all really kind of just together in my mind. Like the kind of vibe that I like to go for is like it's very true to myself, I guess. And also I like to accept those thoughts. I kind of write the song first and then like I kind of realize like, oh, this kind of relates to this thing in my life or like this what I've been thinking about. So it's kind of like I make the song first and then extrapolate meaning if I want to. I also often find it very comfortable to not really assign any meaning to like anything. And it kind of like calms me down a little bit because otherwise you kind of get stressed out about it because you think it means something big, like what you're doing. But if you kind of just like stop and just like have fun doing it, then I feel a lot more like content with that way of songwriting. When I was little, I was really into drawing. I've always been interested in it, but I kind of felt very embarrassed about it for a while too, about like my art and like what people think of it and stuff like that. But when I was little, I was drawing characters and coming up with characters all the time. Like that was my thing, was like interesting characters or like designing like new instruments that I imagined and stuff like that. Or just like a lot of it came from a very musical place too, because back then I came up with like made up bands too. I didn't write the songs for them or anything, but I would like draw like my made up band. Like there's one called the Hawks, I think, and it's all kind of like stick figure-y people playing weird instruments and stuff, and I'd have kind of concepts for them. So I think I've started just like doing that again, I guess. People will look at you like you're crazy for being like for having an imagination or being like creative. It's really odd. Once I realized that, it was very surprising to me. I definitely had some of that like suppression for a while. Like I just felt like I wasn't myself for a long time in my life, you know. I felt like I was kind of always doing things thinking about what other people are feeling or what other people think about me. And so since I've started to like work on that, it's made me a lot happier. Or like I'm just able to feel my emotions now, I guess. And like I think that's a big part of making music as well. I think having like an awareness of different emotions and what you're feeling, it makes everything in life a lot easier to do, because you're not looking at things from like duality or whatever, like good or bad or like us and them, you know. It all kind of becomes a very gray. Like I've been looking at like an emotion wheel a lot, like for the past like year. When I grew up, like I wasn't really able to express my feelings very well, like at all. I think I was really delighted by how just giving something a name makes it a lot more comfortable to experience things, and because then you're able to feel like sad and scared but also hopeful at the same time. It's like you don't have to just be one thing at any given time. A lot of times I'm feeling like 5 different emotions at once, and some of them are like comfortable, some of them are uncomfortable feelings. You start to notice when you feel that more comfortable than uncomfortable, you know. And also you can kind of figure out how to be more comfortable in situations you might have thought were previously uncomfortable. I don't know, it's kind of amusing, I guess, because I kind of think of emotion wheels as being like, that kind of seemed like something for little kids, but weirdly, like I don't think many kids like know much about their emotions or feelings. I think the emotions definitely affect the songs because I'm always feeling some kind of emotion, you know, and sometimes it can end up being, I mean, I like to live in the moment, because then it makes it a lot easier to kind of enjoy a lot of things when you kind of let go of like past stuff or whatever. And then it kind of helps to sort of cultivate like this experience that's very much like going back to like the eyes of like a little kid or something. You start to let yourself have more fun and stuff like that. I think once I like cracked whatever code I needed to crack within my head to let myself songwrite, it was like that switch hasn't turned off, you know. It was like the floodgates opened, sort of, because it's like music has always been something that I felt very excited or like hopeful or whatever listening to. So I've been very curious about writing music my whole life. It was the first song I ever recorded on, like my first original song I ever recorded, but I just released it. It's called Sick Vic. which I wrote it for my girlfriend at the time. It was like supposed to be like a really cute kind of like bubblegum poppy love song, and I still really like it. Like I think it's a really good song, and it kind of is interesting to listen to like my favorite boxer before it was called that, you know, or before like I was releasing stuff. Like that was like the first thing I did. Like I was very kind of, I was having a lot of fun with it, and I was also being very like methodical with it because like I didn't have a lot of songwriting experience at the time. I find it to be like an amusing little listen. And it's like 2 minutes long, so it's like straight to the point, you know. I like it a lot.
Vic does a happy little dance. Vic does a happy little dance. Vic does a happy little dance for me. Short bands, even shorter bands, I like the way they hang. Long dress, super sexy dress, I like the way she dresses. Vic does a happy little dance. Vic does a happy little dance. Vic does a happy little dance for me. She stands on her tippy-top toes, looks at me and I kiss her on the nose. We swap our Kirk sweaters, can't figure out which one smells better. Vic does a happy little dance. Vic does a happy little dance. Vic does a happy little dance for me. Short bands, even shorter bands, I like the way they hang. She stands on her tippy toes, looks up at me and I kiss her on the nose. I don't wanna leave her, not even for a breather. No, I don't wanna leave her, not even just for a breather. It does a happy little dance. It does a happy little dance. Vic does a happy little dance for me. Yeah, Vic does a happy little dance. What? Vic does a happy little dance. Vic does a happy little dance for me. Slumguree.
Thank you for listening. Check out my Bandcamp page, myfaveboxer.bandcamp.com. It's got everything I've ever put out. Inspires some people to do fun things. Yeah. All right.
Thank you for listening to the Songwriting Mind. This interview with Sam Smith was recorded on January 6, 2025 in La Pine, Oregon. The podcast is produced by me, Eric Princess Dragon. If you enjoyed this episode, please rate the podcast, leave a comment, and share it with others. Peace.